A Local History of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Hull and Grimsby Area, 1844 to 1973. This is audio transcript, 7 of 9, Year History, 1957 to 1962. The audio transcripts were compiled by Sharon Bolton and produced by Michael Pennington. The audio transcripts of this history are available in audio CD, MP3 and Windows Media Player formats. In order to obtain copies of these audio transcripts, or print versions of this history, available in Microsoft Word and Adobe PDF formats, please contact Sharon Bolton by email, at sharonmbolton@gmail.com. Year History 1957. The development of a Scout and Cub pack was one feature of church life in Hull, led by Scoutmaster Roland Hebden, who was appointed in November 1956. Madge Wilkinson was Arcala and Mary Stevens was Naghira in the Cub pack, which were terms for the Cub mistress and her assistant. The gang show in October 1956, under the title The Legions of the Patron Saints, was a great success, with a group of girls from the Bilton Grange neighborhood Sunday school, included to provide a little feminine relief. In November at the Guy Fawkes Social, the Guy, Mary Stevens, was dragged into the proceedings in a cycle trailer. Another gang show was held in February 1957, as part of the Hull Central District Scouts, to commemorate the birth of Lord Baden-Powell. The accompanist for the show was George Thieker, a blind man, who shortly afterwards was baptized with his wife Edith. In May, the Scouts and Cubs held their first Sunday service, and in June, they were on parade with the whole of Hull City's youth organizations for an Empire Youth Sunday rally, with their new flag, donated by one of the sisters in the branch. The Scouts had their camp in August, at Malton. There were a number of emigrations during the year, most of them saints seeking a better life in the church. Kent Trotter, of Scarborough, went to Rhodesia. Maureen Wilkinson, of Bilton Grange, Hull, went to Canada to marry Elder Rasmussen. The Sainer family of York went to Canada, and Mary Stevens of Hull went to Utah. The growing strength of the church in the district is indicated by ordinations of brethren who were to become leaders. Gerald Aubrey was already branch president in Hull. Ernest Church, Raymond Scott, Gerald Crosby, and Jack Spur were ordained deacons, and became elders the following year. James E. Holmes, William Bratton and Joseph H. Thistleton became teachers in 1958. In the social sphere, a number of excellent events took place. There was a Valentine's social in Hull, coupled with a production of part of the ballet Coppelia, organized with the girls by Kathleen Fountain. Then in April, another social, on similar lines, was held with the star turn, this time by two 5-year-olds, Stephen Aubrey and Valerie Kennington, who sang, "I'll Buy Your Sweetheart." Many of these events had a financial reason for them. Grimsby were raising funds for stage curtains, while the priesthood held their social for elders' quorum funds. In Grimsby, they also held a rock and roll social, the first of many. There were 73 people there, including 31 investigators. The MC was Brother Bushell. York held a fancy dress party in June, while in Scarborough, Gran Barker's birthday party drew a large crowd. Another event in Grimsby was a welfare social, for which the admission charge was a tin of food for their welfare stock. Each unit at this time tried to build up their communal welfare stocks. Grimsby, and later Hull, also started up in the grocery business, the idea being to turn the profits into their various funds. In Hull, the main effort was towards a building fund, as a start was made in November on an extension to the building. A contractor was employed to build a shell. Then the local brethren worked on the project themselves, putting in the floors, and all other woodwork, the plumbing, electrics and all other works to add classrooms, a new kitchen, a stage with a font under it and an office. One wall of the old building was taken right down, and in the midst of all this, the MIA produced a pantomime, Cinderella, on a stage supported on wooden crates with the audience on chapel seats turned round to face the back. Vera Thistleton was the producer, with Evelyn Shreve making the costumes and taking part herself. A special party was also held in November to celebrate Sister Minnie Jones's 80th birthday. She was a very young 80, and in an earlier event, she had taken the part of a small schoolboy, complete with cap and lolly, in a comic sketch. Another unusual event was the aqua ballet starring Barbara Bradbury as a mermaid, complete with tail in an underwater scene. A very successful social was held in Scunthorpe, in the Red Cross Hut, in August, and as a result the children were able to go to Cleethorpes for their summer outing. The year ended in Hull with a farewell social for Elder Albert Sunderland, of Risley, Derbyshire, when branch president Gerald Aubrey made a presentation to him from the members. 1958. A week later was the Sunday school party, organised by Frederick Stone. The Sunday school superintendent, James E. Holmes, missed most of this event as he had, that morning, acted as midwife for his first son Anthony, who arrived unexpectedly. The Valentine Social in Hull was organised by their YWMIA president Doris Scott, with refreshments provided by Edith Thieker, wife of the blind pianist. The story of their conversion is a very moving one. Sister Thieker had had an accident before her marriage, which had left her paralysed for 3 years, and she was still walking with difficulty with a stick. But on being asked about her problems prior to baptism, she replied that Jesus did not ask people if they had any handicap, just asked them to be baptized. After she had been helped to the font by the sisters, she was baptized, and then walked out of the font without shoes or stick. This was reported fully in the Millennial Star in April 1958. The big event of the year in England was the completion and dedication of the London Temple. A large number of saints from the district joined thousands of others, on September 7 to the 9th, for dedication services conducted by President Mackay, and to tour building. A few, including President Aubrey and his wife Doreen, stayed to obtain their own endowments when work began the following day. A second dedication took place in Hull in December, when Elder Christiansen dedicated the Hull Chapel extension on which local brethren had worked for nearly a year. One personal story behind this project is that of John W. Thomas, who was a member in Gainsborough in the early 1930s, of whom left the church, and was brought back into activity by a missionary, Elder Thornton, in 1946. He was injured during the war, and could only get about with crutches and an invalid carriage, but he supervised the work on the extension after the contractors had finished, doing some of the woodwork himself. He was also very musical, and was branch and district chorister for many years when district conference was held in Hull. Before the extension was built, he would conduct both priesthood and relief society sessions at once, from the doorway in the screens between chapel and hall, to ensure that both sang the same song at the same time, to avoid confusion. At the dedication of the extension, he conducted the choir singing Daughters of Zion, and other hymns. A few weeks before the dedication, the Lord Mayor of Hull had made an appeal to all religious groups in the city for donations for refugees at Camp Basch in Austria. Hull branch decided to contribute the proceeds of their first concert on the new stage to the fund. In a few weeks a program was formed, including the Gypsy Operetta, performed some years previously, and a large amount was raised. District activities during the year included the annual Gold and Green Ball, held in Hull, with 80 attending. The festival, which should have been sporting in nature, was partly rained off, but the road show went ahead, with Scunthorpe branch being the winner. The district president was Arthur Jenner of Grimsby, with Gerald R. Aubrey and Edward Reynolds as councillors. The first convention of the district Melchizedek priesthood was held in the new extension in December, with a 3-course meal provided by the Relief Society following an inspirational meeting, and followed by entertainment and dancing by the York elders. 1959. The year began with the announcement of a comprehensive program, known as the New Era, which was promoted by the mission president, T. Bowring Woodbury, and reinforced by a mission-wide tour by Elder L. Ray Christiansen, president of the Salt Lake Temple, and an assistant to the Council of 12, with his wife. He dedicated 3 buildings on his tour, including the extended Hull Chapel, and he also stressed temple work and genealogy. 156 temple recommends were issued on the tour. The mission president also stressed that the process of bringing in local leadership to replace the full-time missionaries as administrators was being speeded up. In the Hull district, Gerald R. Aubrey was released as branch president in Hull, being replaced by Peter J. Everett. Wilfred Ely was Grimsby branch president, Wilfred Roberts in York, Albert Wardle in Scarborough, and only in Scunthorpe was there a missionary, Elder Blackman. Another step forward towards the new era was the organizing of a mission-wide youth convention at Butlins Holiday Camp at Filey, Yorkshire, held on May 23–24, with Reginald Turver, of York, on the Young Men's Mission Board, as camp supervisor. 1,560 youth from all over the British Isles attended, living in the Mormon village in the camp for 3 days. Prior to this great event, each district rehearsed and competed for turns to take to the convention, these forming part of the district festival and Golden Green Ball, organized in our district in early May by Vera Thistleton. A further step forward was the calling of 42 district missionaries, and Howard Lloyd of Grimsby, as district mission leader. There were also 2 Relief Society supervisors. Doreen Aubrey in Hull, for those units north of the river, and Marjorie Jenner in Grimsby for units south of the river. In Hull branch, a junior Sunday school was organized for children under 12. They had their own opening exercises, giving opportunities for many children to give little talks, to sing, and to develop other leadership skills. The extended building made this advance possible. There was also a well-established neighborhood Sunday school at Bilton Grange in East Hull. The first junior Sunday school coordinator was Elizabeth Dorothy Everett, wife of the branch president. In July, in Grimsby, a grand garden party was held in the chapel grounds in Cartergate. There was also a Sunday school outing to Sutton-on-Sea, near Mablethorpe, when 48 children, and 30 parents, enjoyed a day out. Marjorie Jenner, as Relief Society president, organized the bazaar in the autumn. On Mother's Day, earlier in the year, there was an attendance of 106. In December, a special meeting was held in Manchester, with Henry D. Moyle, second counselor to President Mackay presiding. There were 226 singing mothers in attendance providing the music, directed by Marjorie Jenner. 1960. In March, major changes were made in the church in England. The British mission was divided into North and South, with Hull forming part of the North British, with Grant S. Thorne as president. The president in Hull branch was Peter J. Everett, with Jack Spur and William H. Brattan as councillors, and Frederick J. Stone as clerk. At the same time, the first stake of the church in Europe was formed at Manchester. In September, a major building program was launched and land searches began in Hull and in other units in the district. A search also began in East Hull, where the neighborhood Sunday school in Bilton Grange School now had an attendance of 90. There were also home primaries held in the homes of Sister Cook, Sister Scott, and Sister Graspy transferred from the Scots. Missionaries were sent into Beverley, holding meetings in a hall in Walkergate. District conference was held in Hull Chapel on April 23, with President Thorne presiding. It was preceded by the district Golden Green Ball, and the following day the district chorister, John W. Thomas, and his wife Dora, were baptized, among 20 of whom were baptized that month. This came at a time of intense missionary activity with the youth. There was an average of 30 baptisms each month, with 60 recorded for the month of October. Many of these became known later as baseball baptisms, as they were helped largely by recruiting for teams to play in the parks. There was another big youth conference held at Filey, with over 2,000 youth attending, under the direction of the British Mission President, T. Bowring Woodbury. Socials were held in the units to raise funds to help the youth attend. One such was in Grimsby, with Wilfred Ellie as MC. In June, two more brethren, James Stone and Alan Kennington, were called as district missionaries. One sister, Anita Blake, had already been called on a full-time mission to Scotland. Later in the year, Terry King was also called from Scarborough, on his mission. 1961. One of the first fruits of the building program was the completion and dedication of the Hyde Park Chapel in Exhibition Road in London by President Mackay. A few members of the district were able to attend. Then in March, a small party went to the temple for a weekend, being accommodated in the mansion house for the sum of 5 shillings. In October, the church bought Eden Brook, a large house situated about 3 miles north of the temple, which could accommodate 60 to 70 people, at a cost of 10 shillings a night. It was a great gathering place, with the noise of the water pipes, as the early morning alarm for the 3-mile dash for the early session. In March, the missions were again divided, with 4 centres now established. In London with President Woodbury. In Birmingham, with President Cullimore. In Sale, Manchester, our new area, with President Thorne. And in Glasgow with President Brookbank for the Scottish-Irish Mission. At Whitsuntide, President Everett took a party to an Aaronic priesthood convention in Sunderland. The main youth convention for the country was held in Minster, on the Isle of Sheppey, in Kent, but so very few were able to go there. A Valentine's Ball was held in Hull for the district, organised by Robert B. Thistleton. The attendance was 150, indicating the growth of youth activity. In Scarborough in March, there was a farewell social for Michael Reynolds, son of Edward, who was going on a full-time mission to Manchester. In April, 3 more stakes, in London, Leicester, and Leeds, were organised. There was also a country-wide tour of the Singing Mothers, 50 sisters from the USA, carrying the songs of Zion to us. The annual District Gold and Green Ball was held in Hull in March, organised by Young Women President, Vera Thistleton. In June, the building programme got underway here, with the groundbreaking ceremony conducted by President Oates, counsel to President Thorpe for the York Chapel at West Bank, Acomb, York. A building supervisor was called, LDS, with building missionaries and local help organised by Branch President, Wilfred Roberts. Members from the whole district organised visits to the site, but also to help in the work, which was a pattern that was to continue, as other buildings were started in the coming months. Building missionaries also went out from the district. Alan and Trevor Kennington went to Leeds and Sunderland respectively, and later Dennis Sanderson went to Lancashire. In July, the engagement was announced of Vera Thistleton's only son, Robert, to Joan Tongrack, a recent convert in East Hull. He was the only young man in Hull for some time, and received several callings, including branch clerk, counsellor to the branch president, and Sunday school president before he was 18. He was later called as stake president. The monthly totals of baptisms remained high throughout the year. In October, it was 74. Missionaries from Hull began tracting in Beverley early in the year, and in March, a new branch was opened, with Elder David J. Payne as branch president, assisted by 3 other missionaries. There were only 2 local brethren holding the Aaronic priesthood, Ernest Tyler, and John Wiley. Brother Wiley later became the first local branch president. In spite of very low numbers, land searches were organised in Beverley, and in November, there was a groundbreaking ceremony for the new chapel in Manor Road. A building supervisor was appointed early in 1962, and the work went ahead with Elder Stribble, assisted by building missionaries, and many local brethren and sisters from Beverley and Hull. One of these was John W. Thomas, the district chorister, who performed wonders on his crutches, travelling nearly every day to the site for over a year in his invalid carriage. In December, a dance was organized by the York branch president, Wilfred Roberts, in aid of the building missionaries working in York and Beverley. 1962. On the 2nd and 3rd of February, there was a special conference held in Hull. Over 60 members and missionaries were accommodated by the Hull Saints. At the Sunday session, the Hull district was divided, with Grimsby district being formed, with branches at Scunthorpe, Gainsborough, and Worksop. Arthur Jenner, who had been the Hull district president, became president of the new district, with Wilfred Ellie and Arthur Hickman as his councillors. The new Hull district president was Gerald R. Aubery, with Ernest Church and Peter J. Everett as councillors, and Ralph Scott as clerk. The following week, the Hull branch was itself divided into East and West Hull. Emil G. Hess became branch president in West Hull, with Jack Spur and Charles Ellerington as councillors. John C. Kennington became branch president in East Hull. District officers were called in Hull and Grimsby. In Hull, Doreen Aubery was called as Relief Society president. Elsie Arnott as primary president. Albert Wardle, formerly the Scarborough branch president, as Young Men's president. Vera Thistleton as Young Women's president. Ralph Scott as genealogy chairman, and Elder Hyatt, the York building supervisor, as Sunday school superintendent. In Grimsby, Marjorie Jenner was called as Relief Society president. Janet Lloyd as primary president. Kenneth Jones as Young Men's president. His wife as Young Women's president, and Leslie Bushell as genealogy chairman. At the same conference, the Scarborough branch presidency was changed, with Derek Adams called as the new branch president, with James A. Douglas and David Gummer as councillors. All business was conducted under the authority of President Thorne, who presided at the conference with his councillor Frederick Oates. Total attendance was 343. The building program was really gaining momentum now. The York Chapel was completed. The Beverley Chapel was half finished, and a start had been made on a site in Birmingham Road, Ashby, Scunthorpe, with Elder Laws as building supervisor. The branch president was Arthur Thompson. A site was also being negotiated in East Hull, on Holderness Road opposite Portobello Street, where work began in spring 1963. On September the 8th and 9th, district conference was held at York, and included the opening and Thanksgiving service in the new chapel. It is a large building, with many classrooms, and a seating capacity of over 600. It was provided with an organ, and designated as the district center, which meant that most district meetings would be held there. The district roadshow was one of the first, held in October, with John Lutkin and his rock and roll group playing for the dance activity, for an audience of over 150. At June conference, Harrogate branch, with a missionary as branch president, came into the Hull district, and later in the year missionaries also went into Bridlington, with Elder Easter as the first branch president. They met in Barron's Dance Studio, on the promenade. Later they moved into the Darby and Joan Club, a wooden hut in North Street. In September, the mission home, now the North East British Mission, with President Thorne, moved to Harrogate, into a beautiful house, Rossett Green, which is about 2 miles from the town. President Thorne was a really dynamic leader, encouraging the district to prepare for statehood. This was not to come for 11 years, but he instituted the formation of district councils, with 5 or 6 councilmen active in a way similar to the High Council in a stake. On November 17, a combined conference for Hull and Grimsby was held in the New York Chapel. It was preceded by an autumn leaves ball on the Saturday evening, with the David Allen Trio, and the Mormon Sons Quartet, a group organized from the mission home. Guest speaker on the Sunday was the London Temple President, Selwyn R. Boyer. A few local events during the year included a talent show in West Hull, with missionaries judging turns, including violin playing by George Ballantyne, and a sketch by Paul Knott and Peter Everett. In Scarborough, their summer outing was to Caton Bay, where 41 saints and friends enjoyed a day out, organized by the Sunday school superintendent, Trevor Staniforth. In September, there was the wedding of Robert B. Thistleton, who later became stake president, to Joan Tong Rak, of East Hull. That concludes audio transcript 7 of 9, of a local history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Hull and Grimsby area, 1844 to 1973.